Everything, every sound, every voice. It was all drowned out by the sound of the sports car revving around him. Jungkook's eyes focus on the road ahead of him as he hears engines sounding from each side of him. He don't bother to look at the two motherfuckers who thought they had a chance beat him at the thing he enjoyed most. He know he will win. He always win. When the flag goes down, his foot on instinct slams on the gas pedal of the red Bugatti siren and the car speeds down the empty road. He could feel all his anger that he would pent up inside him releases as he only sped up more. His eyes were zoned in on the road as he let the sound of his car fill his ears. Everything passed by him like it was nothing. It all just blurred together, nothing. He don't even bother checking if the two other drivers were close behind him or not. He knew he was much farther ahead. He knew that he would already pass the finishing line, not bothering to stop for the cash prize. He only continued driving his car, only gaining more speed as it hits 240. He didn't care. He knew it was late. He knew the sun would come up in a couple of hours. He didn't care about that either. It's not like he could sleep anyways. He's not sure how long he was driving for, but it was long enough that the sun had already started rising. By the time he came home, his car about to pull into the entrance, he noticed a familiar figure walking down the sidewalk. His eyes couldn't help but followed her as she walked with her hands tightly gripped onto the straps of some ripped up backpack. She fucking pissed him off every time he sees her. He could see straight through her lies, her fake smiles, her hands wrapping around each other when she got nervous, the fake innocent act she failed at the moment he confronted her for knowing him. Everything about her just fucking pissed him off. Jungkook could clearly remember your face from that night, the fear in your eyes, the fresh cut on your face, everything. Why the hell was some girl all alone in an alleyway that late? You had to be some sort of shitty spy. He ripped his eyes away from you as he pulled into the house to get his uniform on. Fuck, he hated that uniform, he hated that school in general, including everyone who went there. They were all so obsessed about his life for years. Every day he would only came back to school with more people talking about him as if they knew him. Mr. John, the private driver, has already left with Jungwon to school. You're late again. Some old maid who worked there for who knows how long says as she followed behind him. No shit, he muttered, slamming bedroom door shut behind him in her face as he pulled his shirt off and grabbed the new uniform off his desk. How he has her slow as not realize he have taken his motorcycle to school for the past 2 years instead of that terrible private car with Jungwoo. A groan of annoyance leaves his mouth when the maid starts knocking on his door. He don't bother to button up the entire dress shirt as he grabs his nearly empty backpack, pushing past the maid who had been standing outside his bedroom door. He grabbed his black helmet and entered the large garage lined with sports cars, passing by each one until he reached his motorcycle. His fingers tightly wrapped around the handlebar of his motorcycle. He felt his jaw clench as he sped down the street, ignoring the red light and the cars honking at him. He hated how the brain worked how certain memories would be stuck with you forever and other could go away so easily. He swore on his life he would kill her. He would torture her until the last scream left her mouth and he felt the last drop of blood leave her body. No one knew. No one could know what happened. It made him feel sick. Just remembering it made his head go crazy. It made him only want to see her blood on his hands, even more the screams of pain when he would kill her, like the same screams of pain she caused him. How did no one notice? Why did no one wonder why she was so fucking touchy with him? Why did no one see his empty eyes? No 7-year-old's eyes should ever look like that. He took off his helmet, turning a hand through his hair as he walked into the school towards the class. Mr. John, you have been late every single day this year. When will you learn? Mr. Who knows what his name is, grumbles. He ignores him as he moves into the seat, noticing you go stiff at the mention of his name. What was you so fucking scared about? He sighed as he leaned back in his chair, noticing your leg moving up and down nervously under your chair. His eyebrows pull together when your skirt starts riding up from your leg, shaking, and he cleared his throat, kicking your chair. You froze on the seat and he scoffed, turning his head to just look out of the window as the teachers talked for an annoying amount of time. The class felt like it only dragged on longer today and he was about to just leave until a balled up piece of paper was thrown at your head. Jungkook could already feel his blood boiling when he realized it was the bastard Eric. His dad owned multiple hotels around the country. You would think he would have some sort of professionalism, but the fucker was annoying. Hey, look over here, you freak. He snickers, with the same high pitched voice he's had since middle school. Jungkook watched as he throws another paper at her and he moved his eyes towards you. You just let him humiliate you and kept your head down, not saying a single word. Isn't your town full of criminals? You better not steal anything in this school, fucking servant. He spits and Jungkook tapped his fingers on the desk, becoming more impatient. He was just becoming more punchable and his voice just made Jungkook even more eager to shut his fucking mouth. You was still only sat there though, listening to Eric and his friends laughing at you. Jungkook rolled his eyes at your lack of effort and as soon as the bell rings, Jungkook watched as you grabs your bag and nearly runs out of the door. Pathetic. Jungkook's eyes move over to Eric and he get up watching as his eyes widen when Jungkook get closer to his desk. Jungkook grabbed him by the collar, dragging him up from his seat as he looked down at his terrified face. Please no. He shakes his hands, desperately trying to move out of Jungkook's grip. It seems like the entire class was watching now. Bummer for his ego. Jungkook landed a punch straight at Eric's face and listened as he screams in pain before giving him one more for good luck, ignoring the screams from everyone and the teacher trying to split the fight up. He wouldn't stop him. He couldn't do shit. No one here could. Only his dad, but he wouldn't expel him from the school he owned. Jungkook would get detention and suspension most of the time, but that's as bad as it got. You can either apologize to her or I'll personally pay you a visit later. Got it? He squalled, pushing him back in his chair hard enough for him to fall over. He frantically nods his head from the ground, holding onto his now bloody eye. He looked too cleaned up anyways, like a fucking Ken doll. Jungkook grabbed his bag before walking out into the packed hallway. It seemed like the day couldn't get any more annoying. Jungkook, I'm throwing a party tonight. I was wondering if you wanted to come over. Jungkook could already tell by the ugly ass voice it was Lisa, the girl who begged her dad to get an arranged marriage with Jungkook. It didn't work. Not only did his parents reject any form of arranged marriage, but Jungkook rejected her in front of her family and friends. Jungkook thinks she cried. He don't really remember much of it. No, maybe next time, he said, walking towards his next class. She followed him like a leech. But that's what you said last time and you didn't come. She wins. Really? That's weird. He replied sarcastically, his eyes landing on Jungwoo, who was talking to you about something that made your entire face flush red. Why was he so interested in you? And since when did he go for brunettes? I hope to see you there anyways. See you later, Jungkook. She giggles before running up to her friends who had been watching Jungkook the entire time. Fucking creeps. You knew as soon as the sound of the door slamming open and Mr. Liu stopping mid sentence that he was teaching. You didn't want to believe it, and for a moment you tried telling yourself it could be anyone until Mr. Liu crushed all your hopes. Mr. John, you have been late every single day this year. When will you learn? He grumbled out, and you feel your body stiffen, your hand on your pencil not moving anymore as you avoid looking in. Looking in that direction. He doesn't respond to Mr. Leo, just sitting down in his desk. You try to calm your nerves by just focusing on Mr. Leo, who was introducing you all to a project he would be assigned partners from tomorrow. But you couldn't help your legs shaking up and down nervously. His presence in the room alone made you terrified and uneasy. Mr. Liu told you all he wouldn't give the details until tomorrow. Other than you had to finish it over the weekend, and that is was due on Monday, which wasn't a lot of time since tomorrow was Friday. You was only hoping you didn't have to present in front of anyone. You froze on your seat trying to hold back a gasp when you feel Jungkook kicked your chair with force. Did you do something wrong? Was he trying to mess with you? You bite your lip nervously as you try keeping up with Mr. Leo's voice, but he was talking too fast and you could barely write anything down. You started to feel You started to feel uncomfortable as you heard a group of boys looking in your direction trying to hold in laughs. Your brain tells you not to pay any mind to it until you feel a crumbled up paper hit the side of your head and more students start laughing. Ignore it. Hey, look over here, you freak. A boy sitting two chairs across from you snickers. You wanted to tell him to leave you alone, but you knew you had no guts to actually say it. Who was you to say anything like that in a school like this anyway? Everyone ignored you because you didn't have as much money as them, because you was from the poor side of town. You was nothing here. You was also nothing in your old town though, so you guessed it didn't exactly matters. You would always just be a nothing to everyone. You glance over at Eric expecting him to say something, but all that happens in another paper getting thrown at you. You turn your head back quickly, hanging your head low as you try to ignore the laughs. Isn't your town full of criminals? You better not steal anything in this school, fucking servant. He spit at you and you feel your hands are shivering as your hands start to nervously wrap around each other. You wish you could just scream at him that you didn't do anything, that you are a kind person and would never steal, that you don't want any problems. But why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he listen to you? So you didn't do anything, coward. As soon as the bell rings, your hand is already pulling your backpack over your shoulders as you quickly walk out of the classroom. You could feel the eyes of the students on you as you walked out into the backed hallway. When would they stop gossiping? Wyan, the deep voice reaches your ears and you move your eyes towards the sound landing on Jungwoo, who was waving at you with a smile. You purse your lips, giving him a small wave back. His friends, all dressed in football jerseys, looked at him like he was crazy, but he didn't seem to care about what they thought. There were two girls in the group dressed in cheerleading uniforms as they stood by the boys with their arms crossed, giving you dirty looks. Your eyes widened when he suddenly said bye to his friends before starting to walk up to you. You could already feel the angry burning eyes of the two girls on you. You pretended you didn't see him coming towards you though and quickly turned around towards your locker. Am I embarrassing you? He chuckles and you jump in shock. How would he get here so fast? You don't even know what to say as you look up at his tall figure. Somehow his eyes had looked more brown today, or maybe you was just seeing things, or maybe it was the brown football jersey that had made his eyes pop more. No, no, you mutter slightly, shaking your head before turning back towards the locker, grabbing your books from your locker. I was going to ask, are you going to this game tonight? He said, leaning against the locker next to you as he watches you pull out your books. You look at him confused. Was he asking you to go somewhere? You? That never happened. Game? What kind of game? You ask confused. He didn't exactly specify what it was. Your eyebrows pull together when he break into a smile and start laughing. As he looked down at you before pointing to a large sign that read Seoul High School Homecoming 2024. The homecoming game, are you living under a rock? He joked, and you feel your cheeks turn in red in embarrassment. You had never been to one of those. Your school never had enough funding for many sports, and most kids just didn't sign up for the ones the school did have. Oh, that I don't think I can. I still have work tonight, and Mrs. Carmen won't like me skipping a shift. And I needed the money to pay back my mother's debt, so you mean Angie? She won't mind. I'll let her know. He said, and you pursed your lips, thinking the whole thing over. You wanted to go, but you would be losing a day's worth of money, and you don't think you could afford that. You just didn't know how to tell Jungwoo. You didn't want to tell him or anyone about that. It was embarrassing enough and pathetic to say that at the least. Plus, I'll be playing. That should convince you enough. He smirked. If Mrs. Carmen allows me, I'll go. You said, watching as his face brightens at your words. Perfect, I'll see you there then. He beams before walking towards a group of his friends. You feel a small smile move onto your face as you close your locker, oddly feeling your heartbeat start to increase. No one's ever invited you anywhere. The bell rings and you widen your eyes in shock. You got too distracted. Before you are able to move away from your locker, the two girls in the cheerleading uniform suddenly surrounding you, their arms crossed over their chest as they look you up and down. Listen here, Dot. I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but whatever makes you think you can take one of the John brothers is laughable, really. One of them with long black hair scoffs as the other one with shorter blonde hair laughs with her. You swallowed the lump in your throat as you moved back into the locker. He was just asking me a question, you said, shaking your head. Oh, really? Then what's with you being over both of them like a fucking slut? Oh, ever since you came here. She screeches over both of them. If anything, you was doing the opposite. Don't be quiet now, answer me. She spits, grabbing your back by the hair. You gasp in shock at the stinging pain on your skull, trying to release yourself from her grip. Daniela, that's enough. A voice booms and she quickly lets go of both of them, grumbling in annoyance. You watch the guy in confusion. The same guy who was throwing papers at you in class was now all bruised up on his face and helping you. But why? Leave her alone. Your coach is just down the hall. If she sees this shit, you are both are out of the team. He grumbles, and the two girls look at each other before giving you one more dirty look and walked away. Thanks, you said quickly, walking away from him. You couldn't trust him, especially since there was no one else in the hallway. The last time that happened, Ivan touched you even when you told him to stop. He never stops, he never really cared. Wait, I wanted to say sorry for what I did earlier. It was immature of me. He mumbles and you look at him shocked. He was saying sorry. What was going on today? You are saying sorry? You said, looking at him confused. Well, forced to. Your little savior beat the shit out of me. He groaned and you furrow your brows together. Your savior, no one here liked you. Why would anyone help you? I don't know who you are talking about. You said, wondering who this person was now. The sound of keys clanking down the hall comes to your attention suddenly and the guy mumbled curses under his breath before sprinting down the hall. Why was he running? It was only a teacher. Young lady, where's your hall pass? Classes began 10 minutes ago. The teacher, who now looked scarier and much larger from your view of him, now closer up. I don't have. You stutter out, looking up at the scary man. He starts writing in a notepad before slamming the sticky paper onto one of your books, causing you to flinch at the sudden force. If you are not there, you get suspension. He ordered, and you nod your head rapidly before looking down at the paper that read detention in red ink with a time and room number. When the man leaves, you feel your throat start to feel as if someone choking on you. Mrs. Carmen would get mad if you was late. How could you tell her you got detention? Unless you use the game as your excuse. You pull out your phone, texting Mrs. Carmen a reasonable message asking for the evening off so you could watch the homecoming game. By the time the last bell rang, Mrs. Carmen had just replied with a simple yes. You couldn't figure out if she seemed annoyed with you, but you wouldn't be surprised if she was. You had been told by many people back at home how annoying you was and how much of a bother you are. Maybe she thought the same. The detention slip is held tight in your hand as you walk towards the door, taking in a deep breath before walking into the silent room. The teacher was sitting with his arms crossed as he glared at the students. You look over the class, your eyes freezing on a familiar dark gray haired devil as you stood in the doorway, too shocked to even move. What was he doing here?